Welcome to today's podcast on Western Ghats. It's a biodiversity hotspot which is under threat. Here we delve into one of India's most significant ecological treasures, the Western Ghats. This ancient mountain range stretching over 1600 kilometers is not just a geographical feature, it's a living, breathing ecosystem that supports a diverse area of flora and fauna. But today, this biodiversity hotspot is facing unprecedented challenges. The challenges are exacerbated by climate change, floods, disasters, and human interventions. Let us explore the critical issues surrounding the Western Ghats and discuss the path towards sustainability in this fragile region. The six states where the Western Ghats cover are Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Gujarat. On priority, the importance lies with Kerala first. In Kerala, it's a home to some of the most diverse regions, including Silent Valley National Park and the Periyar Wildlife Sanctuary, and it has high number of endemic species. This also regulates the water cycles and prevents the flooding of the area. Even in Karnataka, we have important biodiversity hotspots like Kudremukh National Park, and it has a mix of tropical evergreen and deciduous forests. In Maharashtra, it includes the Sahyadri range, and it has Bhima Shankar Wildlife Sanctuary and Koina Wildlife Sanctuary. In Tamil Nadu, the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve and Anamalai Tiger Reserve, these are very important. And it also has the Shola grasslands. The Western Ghats in parts of Goa and Gujarat are also very important. So all this area requires lots of conservation efforts. Overall, the most important states are Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and parts of Maharashtra, where the large stretch of these Western Ghats are covered. The Western Ghats, often referred to as the Sahyadri, is one of the 8 hottest biodiversity hotspots in the world. It is home to more than 7,000 species of flowering plants, around 140 mammal species, around 500 bird species, around 180 amphibian species, and 6,000 insect species, and also 290 freshwater fish species. Many of these species are endemic and they are found nowhere else on this earth. This rich biodiversity is not just of scientific interest, it is vital for millions of people who depend on the Western Ghats for their livelihoods. The forests here act as a critical water tower for peninsular India, supplying water to some of the most densely populated regions of the country. The ecological and environmental issues of Western Ghats. Western Ghats are under severe stress. Deforestation driven by agriculture expansion, mining, unplanned development has led to significant habitat loss. And once contiguous forests are now fragmented and pose a grave threat to the wildlife that depends on large undisturbed habitats. The Western Ghats are also facing increasing pollution from industries and urbanization. Rivers that originate in these mountains, such as Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, are now carrying the burden of industrial waste too. Untreated sewage and agricultural runoff and several other pollutants are impacting water quality and the health of aquatic ecosystems. The sustainability is a big challenge in Western Ghats because the human interventions have not only degraded the environment but have also disrupted the delicate ecological balance. The construction of dams and roads, while contributing to economic development, has led to the displacement of communities and wildlife. These developments have altered the natural flow of rivers, leading to more frequent and severe flooding in downstream areas. Both The overall sustainability in the Western Ghats requires a balanced approach between development and conservation. It calls for inclusive policies that integrate local communities into conservation efforts, recognizing their traditional knowledge and practices as vital tools for sustainable living. Climate change has its impact even on Western Ghats. Here, the Western Ghats are facing rising temperatures and change in rainfall patterns, altering the region's ecosystems. The increased frequency of extreme weather events, such as intense rainfall and prolonged dry spells, is triggering more landslides, floods, droughts, putting both human and wildlife populations at risk. Western Ghats play a crucial role in regulating the climate of southern India. The dense forests act as carbon sinks, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. However, deforestation and forest degradation are reducing this capacity, contributing to the global climate crisis. Floods and the associated disasters. The Western Ghats are prone to natural disasters such as landslides and floods. These disasters are becoming more frequent and severe due to the combined effects of climate change and human activities. And if we see recently, the highest number of landslides or the deaths due to the landslides that occurred are from this Kerala alone. For example, the recent floods, this July and August floods that occurred in Wayanad area and the floods that occurred in 2019 and 2018, they have led to the vulnerability of the region to extreme weather events. This is because of deforestation, unregulated quarrying, and poor planned infrastructure development. There are two important reports for the conservation of Western Ghats. One is by Dr. Madhav Gadgil, and there is another report by Sri Kasturirangan. Here, both the reports give their own recommendations to address some of the gaps and challenges in these areas. Madhav Gadgil's recommendations, it's a bold vision for conservation. He is a renowned ecologist. He chaired the Western Ghats Ecology Expert Panel, which was tasked with creating a comprehensive plan to protect and conserve the Western Ghats. This report is commonly known as Gadgil report. It made several key recommendations. Ecologically sensitive zones. The Gadgil report proposed dividing the entire Western Ghats into three ecologically sensitive zones: Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, based on their ecological significance. Each zone would have varying degrees of protection and restrictions on developmental activities. In the most sensitive areas, that is ecological zone 1, the report recommended a ban on activities such as mining, large-scale hydropower projects, and red category industries, which are highly polluting industries. The idea was to minimize human-induced disturbances in these fragile regions. The report emphasized the need for decentralized governance, advocating for the involvement of local communities in environmental decision making. It suggested that Gram Panchayats, that is, village councils, play a key role in managing the natural resources of the Western Ghats. He also, he also recommended the sustainable development practices with a vision not just about restricting activities but promoting sustainable development. This includes the encouragement of organic farming, eco friendly tourism, and conservation based livelihoods for local communities. Transparency and public involvement. The report recommended that all developmental projects undergo thorough environmental impact assessments with full transparency and public involvement. Despite its comprehensive approach, the Gadgil report faced several challenges in implementation, right from political and economic resistance. Many state governments and industries, that is, the 6 states which fall under this Western Ghats, they said that these restrictions would hinder economic development. The report's call for stringent regulations in sensitive zones was seen as a threat to industrial and infrastructural projects. Concerns over local livelihoods. Some local communities feared that the restrictions might impact their livelihoods, particularly in areas dependent on mining, agriculture, and tourism. Lack of consensus. Here, especially the stakeholders, including state governments, local communities, and industries, because this was independently developed, this made it difficult to implement the report uniformly across the Western Ghats. Critics argued that the Gadgil report leaned too heavily towards conservation, potentially stifling development in the region. This led to calls for a more balanced approach. In response to the controversies and challenges surrounding the Gadgil report, the Government of India appointed a high level working group led by Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan. The Kasturi Rangan report aimed to provide a more balanced approach to the conservation and development of the Western Ghats. In this report, Dr. Kasturi Rangan mentioned that this ecologically sensitive area should be reduced from 64% to 37%. And the report identified 123 villages in the Western Ghats as ecologically sensitive areas and recommended that human activities in these villages be strictly regulated. Unlike Gadgil's broad zoning, this approach was more focused on specific areas. Also, this report allowed for more development activities, particularly in areas outside the identified ESAs. It aimed to ensure that economic growth would continue alongside environmental conservation. Also, this report distinguished between forest and non-forest areas and allowed more flexibility in non-forest areas. The report also emphasized on modern technology, including satellite imagery and remote sensing, to monitor the ecological health of the Western Ghats.